most wonderful pumpkin spice, candlelit, marshmallow roasting time of the year. It is the beginning of spooky season, and even though it is still hot as Hades here, in fact, I'm going to put my hair up. I am super excited to bring you this project. I've been waiting to do it since last year when I first started making YouTube videos. So I was inspired last year by Wicked Makes, which if you haven't checked out their stuff on YouTube, I will link them down below, but this is them. They make such fun and cool, like just DIY decor in general, but Halloween holds a sweet place in their heart, just like us, because I figure if you're watching this video, you also love Halloween. But in their video, they definitely have the budget to go all out, and it looks fantastic, but in this economy, we need a budget-friendly option, or at least I do, and I don't know about you, but I figure if you're here, you do too. And my husband and I found a inexpensive way to have a very similar effect, and it turned out so good, and I wanted to share with you how we did it. So first, let's get with the design.
For our portal, we decided that we wanted it to be person size, and it came out to about 9 stones or styrofoam boxes. And this kind of shows how the PVC lays inside of all the boxes as you cut the holes in, and the little stand that we made.
They used like construction foam board, which so they could cut out exactly the cool, portal shape that they wanted. But we found that if you used styrofoam coolers, you could get a similar effect. So what you'll need is styrofoam coolers. And we like these because they gave you a stone kind of block shape, and they come in so many different shapes and sizes. We got ours for free off of Nextdoor and Craigslist. These are medical coolers, so people get medicine shipped to them in these. If you just go on like Nextdoor, any of those apps, like free apps, and just do a shout out, just be like, hey, does anybody have styrofoam coolers they're not using? That's how I got all of these. I got way more than I need, all different shapes and sizes, so you can make it look really just like varied and like stone shape and everything, and they work fantastic. As far as the size portal that you're going to make, it's totally up to you. You can make a small portal or a really big one. The portal that we made, we wanted it to be about like our height, so that way like a full-grown person could walk through it and give that illusion. So I'll tell you how many boxes we used, but of course this may change depending on the size of boxes that you have, how big you want your portal to be, and so on and so forth. So just kind of sketch it out yourself and see what best suits you, and go with what you have. Be flexible, be creative. It's not set in stone how you're going to do this, so have fun with it. We did ours very quickly last year because it took us some time. That's why I want to get this video out as soon as possible, so you have some time before Halloween to try and get all the supplies you can without having to break the budget, because let's face it, every Halloween, we buy decorations, we get costumes, we want to have fun, and whether you're having parties or not, or have kids and costumes, that's a whole other price bracket. Anywhere we can save a buck is fantastic. For the next step, you're going to want to spray paint all of your stones, or all your styrofoam coolers. Of course, pick any color you want. We chose a flat gray. Let me show you the one we did. This is ours. Yeah, we just choose a flat matte gray spray paint. I think one can was able to do all those stones that we needed. that's around $6 maybe, more or less, depending on if you find a deal or whatever. And then I used a heat gun, which I actually got for free off of one of the free apps, and you don't have to use one. You can try using a hair dryer on like super high heat, and like that pointed like add-on that like focuses all the heat on the highest setting. It does take longer, but it can work. But yes, I used a heat gun to give it some more texture. It kind of like breaks the bubbles. Do be careful around the seams though, because it did start to distort the seams of the cooler and just made it more like made the lid lift. So just a warning there. If you don't have a heat gun, one thing you can do is get something blunt and just kind of texture the outside like this and kind of carve out and then spray paint over it. Then you're going to need some PVC. Now we used 1-inch PVC, and that's to hold everything together. Cut holes to the top and the bottom of your styrofoam. Now I use the circular attachment to a drill. If you do that, do it inside like your bathtub or something where you can scoop out the styrofoam, because it made such a mess. It just got everywhere and it was a pain. You can also just like carve it out with a knife, like trace it. This is probably the most time-consuming part of everything. Once you get all the holes done, it's pretty easy from there. But yeah, so you'll do that, like line it up, measure twice, cut once kind of deal. I feel like I wasn't explaining this well enough. So all of these need holes straight through the lid and through the bottom. But the top one also needs a hole on the side, but only on the inner side. So that way the PVC can go through. And then all of these at the top also need holes through the center, but not on the top. Including, you're going to replicate, symmetrical on each side. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, okay. So now that you have all your blocks, your stones painted and the holes drilled through them, at the very top, so that way you can have your archway, you're going to put a hole in the side of your top stone. So that way the PVC that's going through your, I don't know if it's headstone or cornerstones or exactly the word for it. Believe it or not, just because I'm making this, I'm not a stonemason. But yeah, so the top ones have the same diameter hole for the PVC inside. And then instead of the top on these, the top being drilled on these three, they go sideways. So if you're trying to make one exactly like how we did, you're going to have a top and bottom hole on 6 of them on each side. And then on the top one, you're going to have a side hole, and then the top 3 will also have side holes. So that way, like I said, the PVC can go through. Now, as far as a bottom to support it, we just screwed together 2 pieces of extra wood into an X as a stand, and then had a smaller piece of PVC drilled into it, and then we weighed them down with cinder blocks, so that way when the wind blew, it didn't topple over. And one thing I thought would be really cool, which I haven't done with this one, is getting some like dried moss or grasses and sticks and gluing them into these little crevices. So that way it looks like if you had Spanish moss kind of going down the sides of it, so it looks like the old weathered portal or like standing stones. in the middle of the woods that have been there for a very long time. So next, this is the only thing that I think will be hard to do for cheap or free. Now, you need a projector. That's what makes this a portal. We have been able to find cheap ones secondhand, either thrift stores or Facebook Marketplace, next door, you know. If you have time, if you don't already have a projector, check those places out. Even ask a friend who may have one if you can borrow it if they're not going to be using it, because you're only going to use it most likely for one night. So, you know, you don't want to shell out like 80 bucks for a projector or whatever if you don't have to. But, you know, there's ways to work around it. But you will have to use a projector, so there's no way to work around that part. But the next thing you'll need is a sheer or semi-sheer curtain. So again, we had this laying around the house. All you have to do is like pretend that this is the back of it so I can actually show you. Is we lined it up and just stuck a couple push pins, like so, into the back of the portal. So when you're projecting onto the sheet, it looks seamless and it's just so cool. Oh yes, and as far as like the videos for the portal, I'll link the ones that we used down below. We chose some not very scary ones because we have kids and like we're doing out trick-or-treating, but of course I'll link a few of them. You can just like search in YouTube. There's lots of really cool ones. But yeah, of course you can add decorations to it. We got these plastic chains that are super lightweight, I think from Target last year, and we just kind of like drape them down. Some skulls, you know, you can put them across the top. We had these, I forget how we had them, but just kind of strewn across. So you can make it look, you can really play around with it and customize it as much as you want. You can get glow-in-the-dark paint, you know, make it glow in the dark and paint symbols on it. And you know, I definitely encourage you to look at the Wicked Makes video that they have, because they did recessed lighting and stuff, and it was just really cool. We didn't get into that obviously, but we were really quite happy with it. In this form, it's a very quick and easy thing to make on a very small budget, and it turned out really great. If you can't find medical coolers, you can buy styrofoam coolers. I think like Walmart has them for like $5 or something like that. So it's still less than one of those sheets of foam or whatever, and it's just already pre-made stone. And I'll put together a little list right here of all the things that we used, like a material list for you guys, so that way if you want to pause and just take a look here, just to give you an idea of the items that you'll need. Yeah, so I hope that this was a helpful tutorial for you guys on how to make an inexpensive Halloween portal with reused and free materials. Let me know if you end up making it, what you think of it. If you have any questions, if I missed anything and it's not clear, like, feel free to comment. I'm pretty good about getting back to people in the comments section, as long as you're not being a tool. And follow me on social media. tag me. I'd love to see you guys try this out. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Happy spooky season.